Continuing on now in our 2024-2025 season previews, we have the Carolina Hurricanes today. The Hurricanes are a team who lost a lot this past offseason. They were a team in previous years, just could not seem to get over that hump. You will see there's a very similar trend amongst this team when you look in terms of the results in the last couple of years. But overall, this season, we could see not a massive regression, but definitely we're going to see this team not be as good as they've been in previous years. This started in 21-22. You could argue it started before that, but in 21-22 was really when the talks came in that this team could not get over the hump. They went 54-20-8 for 16 points. They were third in the NHL. They lost in round 2 to the New York Rangers. They obviously beat the Boston Bruins in 7 games in the first round prior, but they lost to the Rangers yet again in 7 games in that second round series. That was yet again, I think, the third straight year where they could not seem to get over that second round hump. And it continued into the 22-23 season where the team got actually a little bit better and went 52-21-9 for 113 points and were second in the NHL. At least standings-wise, they were better. They lost in the conference finals in a 4-game sweep to the Florida Panthers. It was one of the closest sweeps you could have ever seen. Rod Brind'Amour, I remember, even said that after the round ended. The games were close, overtime games, 1-goal games. It was extremely close all the way down to Game 4 when Tkachuk scored that goal with 6 seconds left to send Florida to the Stanley Cup Finals. But still wasn't good enough. And again, this past year in 23-24, they went 52-23-7 for 111 points. They were third in the NHL, and they lost in the second round to guess who? The New York Rangers. And that was a round where they went down 3-0, came back, made it a 3-2 series, made it look close, and then they blew a lead in Game 6, and the Rangers eventually came back and won that series. So, again, after that round, it was pretty clear they were going to make some changes. Don Waddell left the team and went to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and now Eric Tulsky has taken over the general manager. There were some rumors that Ron Brind'Amour, the coach, might not be with the team anymore following this year, but those rumors have been disproven. And now, this offseason, made a lot of player moves. They made some moves that they really probably shouldn't have done. They made some moves that they couldn't do, to be honest. So, you started with your rivals. They brought in Jack Roslovic, William Carrier, Shane Gostisbehere, Sean Walker, and Tyson Jost were the main guys they brought in. They brought in a few other guys to help out the depth around the roster. But apart from that, just some guys to fit in on the depth role, because they lost a lot of depth this past year. They added some guys on the blue line with Gostisbehere and Walker who do improve this blue line and make it seem it fixes the holes that were brought up. And Jost and Roslovic obviously are just kind of, depth players, fourth line guys at best, to be honest. Your departures was where it really started. You have Evgeny Kuznetsov, Dylan Coghlan, Brady Shea, Stefan Noesen, Brett Pesce, Teuvo Teravainen, and Jake Guentzel are the guys they lost. So Kuznetsov and Guentzel, people do profile them as big losses, but they were deadline players. They weren't players they kept throughout the entire season. So I wouldn't classify them as massive losses. They're still losses, but they aren't massive losses to this team because they already spent most of last season without them anyways. Losing Coghlan, a good depth defender, definitely going to be a loss. Brady Shea and Brett Pesce, 2 top 4 defensemen on this team. It's not looking great, but overall, those guys, it didn't seem to work out with the Hurricanes. They couldn't seem to get over that hump they wanted to, so they had to move on somehow. They also lost Teravainen and Noesen as well, other guys who are solid, offensive players. Teravainen had been a consistent top 6 forward. Noesen been a good middle 6 guy. So they lost a lot of guys below that they just couldn't keep. And now you look in terms of this team, it's just a team that they're relying on some of their young guys and their new ads to bolster and get them over this hump. I don't think they will be a third-place team or a second-place team yet again this year. They're still a playoff team nonetheless, but I think this year I wouldn't be surprised if they take a little bit of a step back and kind of stay back standings-wise. But we'll see what happens with the Hurricanes. Their projected daily face-off lineups are Evgeny Svechnikov, Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis is your first line, Bradley Nadeau, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and Marty Necas as your top six. So it's a great top six. You have to sign Seth Jarvis, obviously, still. I'm assuming we'll see that within the next couple of weeks. Your first line's perfect. I don't even need to really go into it. Svechnikov and Aho. It's a great first line with Jarvis thrown in there too. Bradley Nadeau, a name people may not know, but he's a rookie coming up this year in the Hurricanes pipeline. He is probably behind Nikishin, your second best prospect in the Hurricanes prospect pool right now. He's expected to come into the NHL and maybe not play top 6 minutes to start, but he will be an NHLer for sure. And that does make things kind of exciting, seeing a younger guy hopefully make the lineup. And then Kotkaniemi at your second line. Yeah, they're very weak down the middle. They are extremely weak. We thought they were actually going to buy out Kotkaniemi a lot of points this offseason, but they turned out to not. So obviously that did not happen. That's one of the moves they really couldn't do. And same with Necas. They wanted to move Necas, but they lost so much that they couldn't keep him around, or that they had to keep him around. So unfortunately, that's the way it went. But regardless, yeah, their forward core definitely got a lot weaker when you look in terms of it. Their bottom six is William Carrier, Jack Drury, and Jack Roslovic, Tyson Jost, Jordan Staal, and Jordan Martinook as your fourth line. So again, not a terrible bottom six, but it's still not as strong as it's been in previous years. You know, you lose Nosen, who was a good middle six guy. Doesn't help. So obviously there, it makes the center core, again, as I said, really weak. Kotkaniemi is your second line center. That's not ideal whatsoever. They are very weak down the middle. Their wings are all right. I would say that they're going to lose a lot. They're going to not have a lot of offensive depth scoring this coming year. I think that honestly they're going to be relying on a lot of those older guys and the guys in the top six to really kind of produce for them. The guys below, we'll see what they do. We'll see how Nadeau is. But honestly, the forward core is a lot weaker. And that's really the only place where they got weaker, I'd say. I guess you could argue the defense, but their defense is still so good that you could argue it's just the same, to be honest, with the guys they brought in. You have Jacob Slavin and Brent Burns as your first pairing. Dmitry Orlov and Sean Walker as your second pairing. And then Shane Gostisbehere and Jalen Chatfield as your third pairing. Your extra is Scott Morrow as well. So, and I forgot to mention again, your extras are Brendan Lemieux and Eric Robinson and on your offensive core. I keep forgetting to do that. I did that in the Calgary video earlier today. But regardless, again, D-core, still terrific. It's still a very strong defensive core. All six of those guys have looked good in these past couple of seasons. Walker coming off of a good year from Colorado and Philadelphia. Gostisbehere looked really good in Detroit. Good offensive season from him. And Chatfield has been a solid, third pairing defenseman for years. He's probably going to finally get some regular NHL time. But it definitely does suck losing Pesce and Shea. But I don't think they're awfully far off because they still have some really good guys in their pipeline and in that overall top six right now. Nikishin, their top defensive prospect, not expected to come over for a little bit, but still has some good upside and potential heading into this coming season in the KHL. Your goalie tandem is Anderson and Kuchekov. So that doesn't change. You lose Antti Raanta to free agency. I guess I forgot to put that in here. But regardless, not a huge loss whatsoever. Raanta wasn't that great this year as it is. Anderson played good in the games he played. He was injured a lot this year. And Kuchekov, I've always liked Kuchekov, has always been a solid goalie in my eyes. I think that honestly, it's a good add, or it's a good guy to have there. And your third string is Spencer Martin. So not a bad tandem, not a bad goalie triangle either. Martin's not terrible. He played all right in Carolina this past year. So anywho, this team, as I said, will definitely be weaker. They are not going to be a third place or second place team this year. Do I think they're a playoff team? Yes, but I'm not sure if they're necessarily going to beat out the Devils for that second spot in the division. I don't know if they're going to be at the Rangers for that first spot in the division. I just don't know. I don't think that they're going to be that high of a team standings-wise, but they could still do some damage in the playoffs as a lower seed and take advantage of some other teams there for sure. So they are still in the hunt for sure. I just don't know if taking this different perspective of a more long-term better team works out. We'll see how it does. But regardless, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. The Hurricanes made a lot of changes this past offseason. We'll see if it transitions over into the ice on the 24-25 season. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe down below. I really appreciate it. We shall keep doing these. I got Chicago tomorrow. We'll keep doing the Prospect Below reviews, by the way. We won't just stop doing those randomly. We'll keep those going as well. Just with school starting soon, I kind of have to get these videos kind of cramped together. And obviously, my weekends are a little bit busier. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.